Your dog is not just playing. They are running a risk assessment, and so are you, without knowing it. When I dug into research on unconscious cognition, I found that the vast majority of your decisions about risk happen below the threshold of awareness. Your brain processing danger, reward, and novelty long before your conscious mind weighs in. The way your dog plays is one of the clearest external windows into that hidden calculus. If you want to understand what your dog is really telling you, you are in the right place. Watch a dog at play for 10 minutes, and I guarantee you will see decisions happening in real time. Should I push harder or back off? Should I take the toy or wait? Should I initiate contact with that stranger across the yard or hold my position? These are not random impulses. They are negotiated micro-choices, shaped by temperament, past experience, and the animal's learned read on its environment. When I dug into what researchers studying animal behavior have consistently found, it is that play is one of the few contexts when an animal's underlying risk tolerance is visible in pure form. Unconstrained by survival pressure, it defaults to its natural setting. The dog is essentially running free with its own risk dial. Now here's what I found that most owners miss entirely. You are doing the same thing, standing right beside them. How you respond when your dog escalates, whether you laugh and lean in, tense up, redirect, call them off, those are not random parenting choices. They are your own risk dial, expressing itself through how you manage theirs. You and your dog are playing the same game. One of you just doesn't realize it. Here is the pivot most dog owners never make. They assume their dog's play personality is a product of breed, or early socialization, or something that happened to the dog before they met. And some of that is true, but what I keep coming back to in the behavioral science is a bidirectional relationship. Your behavior shapes your dog's behavior in ways that precisely mirror your own psychological tendencies. When I dug into a 2013 review published by Choice Reviews examining Leonard Mlodinow's research on unconscious cognition, I found that Mlodinow's synthesis of decades of psychological research showed that humans are overwhelmingly poor judges of their own decision-making processes, particularly around risk. We believe we are deliberate and rational, but the brain's risk calculus is largely automatic, running beneath awareness and expressing itself in our behavior before we ever have a conscious thought about it. Your dog reads that behavior fluently. They respond to your nervous system, your hesitations, your ease, and in doing so, they reflect it back. What you call your dog's play style is partly your own psychology projected outward, made visible, made physical, made impossible to ignore if you know how to look. Number 1. The Roughhouser. You are the owner who lets it get loud. Tumbling, growling, full-speed collisions, you do not flinch. You might even be the one who initiates it, roughhousing right back, egging your dog on when other owners at the park are quietly pulling their dogs away. This is not irresponsibility. This is a specific risk profile made visible. When I dug into what drives this pattern, I found that owners who consistently allow and initiate high-intensity play without anxiety show a behavioral signature that psychologists associate with what researchers call high sensation seeking, a genuine neurological preference for novelty, intensity, and stimulation. The discomfort that stops other owners does not register as a stop signal for you. It registers as the beginning of fun, and your dog knows this. They have learned that escalation is safe with you, that the ceiling is high, that there will not be an anxious hand on their collar the moment things get interesting. Here is what I find most striking about this. This same setting is almost certainly running in your professional and personal life. You are probably the person in the room who says yes before the others have finished calculating. Not recklessly, but because your baseline threshold for what counts as too much is simply set higher than most. That is not a flaw. Number 2, the referee. I watch. I monitor. I am the owner whose eyes never fully leave the dog's, even when I am mid-conversation. The moment play tips towards something that looks like conflict, a lip curl, a higher pitch in the growl, I am moving. I call my dog off. I reposition. I restart on my terms. Observers might call me anxious, but what this play style actually encodes is a very specific risk management orientation. I am highly attuned to early warning signals. I intervene before problems materialize, and I prefer controlled risk over open-ended exposure. Research in decision science consistently shows that people who monitor environmental cues at this level of granularity are not more fearful than average. They are processing more information. In 2018, a team including neuroscientist Michael Platt examined how social network behavior reveals underlying cognitive styles. Their work, published in Scientific American, found that people who process interpersonal signals at higher resolution make fundamentally different risk decisions, not worse ones, more contextual ones. What I am doing at the dog park is exactly that. The cost is this: if I never let the play escalate, neither I nor my dog ever discovers what we are both actually capable of. If that just made you see your relationship with your pet in a completely different way, hit subscribe. We explore the science of the human-pet bond every week and what it reveals about us. All right, let us keep going. Number 3, the quitter. Play starts strong. Your dog is engaged. The energy is good. And then something shifts. Not in the dog, in you. You get distracted. You sit back down. You lose the thread. And your dog, reading you perfectly, winds down too. 5 minutes of play, then nothing. Maybe you'll try again later. Maybe not. This pattern is the one I find most owners feel vaguely guilty about. They know they stopped too soon. They know the dog wanted more. What I have found the behavior actually reveals is a specific relationship with sustained uncertainty. Play requires tolerating, not knowing how it ends. You do not know if the toy will break, if another dog will join, if your dog will come back when you call them, or how long the good energy will last. When I dug into why this happens, I found that for owners with a low tolerance for ambiguity, play has a kind of invisible ceiling. Once the outcome becomes unclear, the easiest regulation is to end the session. Psychologists studying risk behavior have noted that tolerance for uncertainty and tolerance for risk are deeply intertwined, not identical, but feeding each other. What I came across in that research is striking. If you consistently remove yourself from open-ended situations before they resolve, you are practicing risk aversion in its most foundational form. That is not laziness. That is a nervous system preference. It shows up at the dog park, and it almost certainly shows up at the negotiating table too. Number 4, the solo player. Your dog mostly plays alone, not because they are unsocialized or unhappy. They are fine. They just seem to prefer their own company. They have their routines, the ball they carry around the yard, the toy they shake in a private game that needs no audience. And I, maybe unconsciously, maybe deliberately, have structured their life around that. I am not pushing playdates, not seeking out the dog park, not going out of my way to manufacture social play. If I am honest about it, neither am I. This is one of the most directly mirrored behaviors in the owner-dog relationship. When I dug into this, I found that owners who structure their own lives around independent, low-stakes activity, who prefer a solo walk to a group hike, who work better alone than in teams, who find the unpredictability of social situations more tiring than energizing, tend to create environments for their dogs that match that preference. The risk tolerance being expressed here is not about physical danger. It is about social risk, the risk of conflict, of unmet expectations, of social situations going sideways. Independent play is a low social risk environment. It is comfortable, predictable, and contained. Your dog is living the life that your nervous system voted for. The question worth sitting with, is that a feature or a limitation? Number 5, the rule setter. Play happens on my schedule, by my rules, and ends when I decide it ends. I have commands for it. Drop it, leave it, come, sit before we play again. I am not harsh, I am structured. I probably genuinely believe that structure is kindness, that a dog with rules is a dog who feels safe. And I am not wrong. But the pattern that is worth examining is what happens when the rules are violated. When play goes off script, when your dog breaks the pattern, when they do not drop the toy on command, when another dog arrives and disrupts the game. Do you feel something that goes beyond mild annoyance? Is there a flicker of real distress? Because that distress is not about the dog. It is about what uncontrolled situations feel like in your nervous system. When I dug into this, I found that people who have a strong preference for rule-governed environments are not controlling for its own sake. They have typically learned, through experience, that unpredictability carries real costs. Rules are a way of managing risk by narrowing the probability space of what can happen. The dog park without rules is a metaphor. It is the board meeting without an agenda. It is the relationship without defined expectations. What I came across is this. The rule setter is not inflexible. They are risk managing. But the risk being managed is not usually the one they name. Number 6. The spontaneous inviter. You are the person who makes play happen. Not on schedule, spontaneously. You crouch down in the middle of the hallway and start a game. You grab the nearest toy at 9 p.m. and get your dog going. You walk past another dog on the street and immediately lower your body and let the dogs greet. You are easy with initiation. The transition from mundane to playful costs you almost nothing. This is the most optimistic risk profile in the group. And when I dug into what drives it, I found a specific psychological signature underneath. When I looked at the research on people who initiate freely, what came up consistently is that they tend to have low catastrophic thinking around social outcomes. They do not spend much energy imagining how the interaction might go wrong. Their prior is that things will probably go fine, and if they do not, they will handle it. I came across work in social neuroscience examining how personality connects to social initiation behavior, including the network cognition research from Michael Platt's group at Duke. And what that work suggests is that this orientation is not just confidence. It is an unconsciously favorable prior around uncertain social outcomes. You have been rewarded enough times for reaching toward the unknown that your brain stopped flagging initiation as risky. And here is what I find most striking about that finding as it applies to you and your dog. Your dog has absorbed that same prior. They approach new dogs, new people, new situations with an ease that looks social, but is actually something deeper. It is borrowed confidence, learned from living with you. So where does this leave you? Not with a verdict on your risk tolerance. No single behavioral pattern makes you brave or timid, evolved or limited. What it leaves you with is a window. When I dug into this, I found that most of us move through our entire lives without ever getting a clear external read on our own unconscious risk psychology. We sense it in patterns, the deals we never close, the relationships we never quite start, the opportunities we circle and walk away from. We rarely trace those patterns to their source. But what I came across in looking at what your dog gives you is something rare. They give you a behavioral mirror that has been running in real time, every day, without any of the distortion that comes from self-report. You cannot lie to the mirror. When you called your dog off at the first sign of escalation, that was real data. When you let the session end before your dog was ready, that was real data. When you crouched in the hallway at 9 p.m. for no particular reason, that was real data too. The question I keep coming back to is not which risk profile is right. The question is whether yours is chosen or simply inherited, whether it is a genuine expression of who you are or a pattern your nervous system learned to keep you safe when safe was all that was available. That distinction is worth everything, because once you can see the pattern, you can decide what to do with it. The next time your dog brings you a toy, watch what I want you to notice in the 3 seconds before you respond, before you decide whether to play, how rough to let it get, how long to let it run. Those 3 seconds are not about the toy. They are a live read on where you are today, how much uncertainty you can hold, how much openness you are willing to bring, what kind of person you are being right now, in this room, with this animal who loves you and reads you better than almost anyone in your life. When I dug into this, what I found was striking. Your dog is not judging you. They are reflecting you. And in that reflection, if you are willing to look, is one of the most honest portraits of yourself you will ever get. Not because dogs are mystical, because they are attentive in ways that most humans are not. They have been watching your risk dial since the day you brought them home. They know where it is set. The only question I keep coming back to is whether you do. Thank you for investing your time with us today. Now that you know your dog's playstyle is a real-time window into your own unconscious risk psychology, we are curious. Which playstyle did you recognize in yourself? And what does it tell you about how you approach uncertainty? Let us know in the comments. New episodes drop every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so make sure you're subscribed to catch the next one. Until then, decode your dog, decode yourself.